Good day to you. If you are looking for a system that protects your software while also giving you the ability to issue licenses, then you are exactly in the right place. Over the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the CodeMeter technology, which offers exactly that. First, let's take a look at the overall technology. CodeMeter is the central technology of WIBU-SYSTEMS for the protection and licensing of software and intellectual property, IP. We initially developed it for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS, but over the years we have also implemented it for embedded systems. This means that we will first examine how the software integration of CodeMeter is carried out. On one hand, you protect your know-how, your intellectual property, and your data. You protect yourself against the risk of your software being reverse engineered, meaning that someone could deconstruct the software back to its original code and thus access your valuable know-how. Additionally, you protect yourself against external attacks that could compromise the software, preventing it from performing its intended function. On the other hand, the second aspect is back-office integration. How do I monetize my software, and how can I integrate it into my existing processes and back-end systems so that I can sell my licenses worldwide 24/7? We have a slogan: integrate once, deliver many. Let's take a look at what we mean by that. On one hand, you protect your unencrypted software by using our toolchain CodeMeter Protection Suite, which allows you to encrypt your software. On the other hand, through CodeMeter License Central, we offer the ability to deliver the licenses required to decrypt your software on the target system to your customers. At the end of the day, this is the picture we have. License Central tool is for distribution. On the bottom left, you can see that License Central can also be integrated into various back-end systems, such as an ERP system or an e-commerce system. On the other side, licenses are distributed to customers either through an interface, the so-called license portal, where the customer can manage it independently, or you can integrate it into your software so that the licenses are delivered through your software. This means that on the right side, you see the encrypted software delivered to all customers, and depending upon which licenses you have sold to your customer, the respective customer can then use the program. Let's take a closer look. Here we have the software. Ideally, the software is encrypted with full functionality, and through the licenses, you control which functionalities of the entire program or parts of the program can be used by the customer. The flexibility we offer is that you can manage this with CM dongles, meaning you can deliver a real hardware crypto module to your customers that provides the highest and best state of technology regarding security. Alternatively, you can also use a pure software license where no additional hardware is required and the software license is bound to the computer. Or we can also move into the cloud, meaning that this license container, as we call it, can also reside in the cloud. You decide what works best for your application. However, the three types of license containers are fully compatible with each other, meaning you can choose one but still offer other options to your customers later on. In addition, there are many flexible licensing models, starting with a feature-on-demand model, where customers can purchase additional functionalities, often even in an after-sales situation. There are also subscription models, where you sell your subscriptions to your customers, generating a continuous revenue stream on your side. We also offer maintenance contracts, meaning you enter into a maintenance agreement with the customer, and the license reflects the start and end of this maintenance contract period. All software releases that come within a year and fall within such a maintenance contract window can then be used by the customer without any issues. When a new release comes out next year, the customer must renew their maintenance contract accordingly. There are also pay-per-use licenses, meaning you can charge based on the usage duration or the number of times functionalities of your program are used. You can link licenses to specific users of a system with named user licenses, or conversely, with floating network licenses. This means you provide a customer with various licenses on a license server, and these licenses can be used by a certain number of clients. With a floating network license, if there are 10 licenses and 10 people are using them, the 11th person will have to wait until a license becomes available. There are volume licenses, where billing is based on a contract that allows the customer to generate as many licenses they need within their organization. Of course, there are the standard time-limited licenses, which expire after a certain period. Additionally, there's the so-called trial license, where a customer receives a license for testing purposes for a specific duration. Licenses can be borrowed, and there are time zone licenses, regionally restricted licenses, standby licenses that prepare the customer for a potential system failure, and emergency licenses that are strictly defined for a limited period, allowing the customer to rely on them in case of an emergency. Furthermore, we also offer the ability for you to include your own data in these licenses. This means we provide storage areas that can be readable, hidden, or encrypted, and even areas where private keys can be stored. This allows you to incorporate your own licensing models within our comprehensive CodeMeter license container structure. Let's take another look at this. I started with CodeMeter Runtime, a high-power application designed for personal computers and industrial PCs. Later on, we expanded into the industrial sector, allowing us to support embedded systems through CodeMeter Embedded. We can offer software protection and license management for controllers and PLCs as well. And if you need to go even further down to microcontrollers, we can also provide pure licensing solutions for such devices. This applies to the different license containers on the runtime side, whether for dongles, software licenses, or cloud licenses. When we move down to controllers, we offer both software licenses and dongles. For micro-embedded systems, due to the limitations in memory and capacity, we only support software licenses. Additionally, we have a cloud implementation through Cloud Light, which is a server that can be accessed via a REST API. This allows licensing to be carried out even on the smallest devices and mobile devices. Protect your IP. That's what I mentioned right at the beginning, encrypting your application using licenses. We offer dedicated AX protectors, as we call them, for various target platforms and programming languages. Starting with Windows, Mac OS, and Linux, we provide full support in our tool chain for application encryption. But we also offer support for .NET, scripting languages like Python and JavaScript, as well as Java and Android. This means that with our application, you can encrypt your entire application through automatic protection. However, we also offer the possibility to encrypt and license only parts of your application using modular licensing. Additionally, if your focus is purely on protecting your application rather than licensing, we provide IP protection to help you concentrate solely on encrypting your application. We also offer features like code moving, file encryption, and compile time obfuscation, which further enhances security and allow you to encrypt not just applications, but also pure data. Let's take a quick look at how this works. I've prepared something for you. I've set up AX Protector for .NET. So let's jump into the quick start. What do I want to do? I want to encrypt an application I've written. This is a .NET application, and I want to ensure that it can only be used when the customer receives a license with the correct key. I'll make this simple. I'll go into the Quick Start, select my application. It's called Sample Notepad. Since it's a .NET 6 or higher application, I need to encrypt the DLL file, as the executable is just for running the application. Next, I select a directory where I want to store my encrypted application, and I'll call it Protected. Here I have the so-called firm code, which is essentially the private key that WIBU-SYSTEMS assigns to you as the software vendor. The firm code 60010 is our demo firm code, and for the product code that I'll assign to my application, I'll choose 201,000. This means I've specified that I want to encrypt the entire application with firm code 60010 and product code 201,000. Therefore, the customer will need a license with the codes 60010 and 201,000 to use the application. I now press Encrypt. And that's it for the initial steps. This shows how quickly and easily I can encrypt my application. So the application is now, let's say, taken apart and all its parts are encrypted. An engine is embedded into the application, and this engine is responsible for decrypting the relevant parts when they need to be executed. The application was successfully encrypted simply means that everything worked as expected. Now let's take a look at it. I have my protected directory, and I can bring it up here. So here you can see the application. This is now the encrypted version, and when I start the executable that calls the encrypted DLL, you'll see that no license is found. As I mentioned, I encrypted it with firm code 60010 and product code 201,000, but I don't have this license on my system. So let's take the next step. After seeing how the encryption process works, we'll return to the presentation and take a closer look at how licensing works. Now we come to the point, monetize your IP. Here we have our product, CodeMeter License Central. CodeMeter License Central is essentially a cloud application that acts as a bridge between you, the software vendor, and license issuer, and the end customer to whom you want to deliver the license. All the products you want to sell to your customers are stored in the License Central database. Each product has a unique article number and a definition of what the license should look like, including the type of license, such as named user, subscription models, or pay-per-use models, as introduced earlier. These details are defined in License Central, and article numbers are used to manage them. When an order comes from your ERP or CRM system, it essentially generates a request stating, "Please create an activation code," or what we call a ticket, for the following customer number, order number, and article numbers. In step 1, the request is received, and in step 2, the ticket is generated. This ticket can then be processed in the ERP or CRM system, or if you have a shop system that handles everything, the ticket allows the end customer to retrieve a license from License Central via the license portal or integrated within your software. This process works by providing the customer with an interface where they enter the ticket number. Under the hood, a corresponding fingerprint is generated, either from the dongle or the underlying hardware characteristics of the computer, and is sent along with the ticket to License Central. The ticket essentially acts as a secure password. License Central recognizes which licenses should be provided for that ticket and generates an update file containing those licenses. This update file is then applied either on the computer or the dongle. For the cloud, there's an additional automation process, but this is the basic flow in 5 steps to turn a customer order into an activated license on the end device. This entire process doesn't just work online, it can also be done offline. The generation of the fingerprint and the application of the update file are essentially file-based operations under the hood. What can be executed automatically online through the browser can also be done offline by creating such files on the end customer's device that isn't connected to the internet. This is where the well-known sneakernet comes into play, transferring the file to a computer with the internet access. The fingerprint can be uploaded and the update file can be downloaded, then taken back to the offline device to register the licenses. This way, the licenses are also properly activated even without an internet connection. Here's a very brief demo of License Central. Let me show you quickly how it works. This is the demo of License Central where the password sales works. I've already predefined a number of licenses in my License Central. Here are the article numbers I mentioned earlier, along with descriptive names. Behind these names are the licensing models I've built and how they're structured. For example, if you remember, I need a license with firm code 6,010,000 and product code 201,000. To generate such a license, I know that I have an article number that includes this license. I can now create a license for that. I've defined it with several additional modules. As mentioned earlier, I'm doing this manually, which is normally handled automatically by an ERP system via an external request. I enter a customer number, select the article I want to sell, and since I don't have a leading system like SAP, the order number is automatically generated here. Finally, License Central creates exactly what I need, a ticket ID. I've done this manually so that we can review it together. Now let's switch perspectives. The ticket has been generated and you've seen the process. Now it's time for the end customer to activate the license. I enter the ticket here, and as you can see, I can redeem this license using the ticket. I click on Activate Licenses, and then I can choose the target license container. I mentioned earlier that 3 types of license containers are available. I'll choose the software license, meaning it will be bound to my computer without needing additional hardware, and I'm not using the cloud. I then proceed to activate the license. This triggers the 5-step process we discussed earlier. The fingerprint of my computer is generated and sent along with the ticket to License Central. License Central responds with an update file and generates a receipt in return. So License Central knows immediately how the activation process went. In this case, successfully. So with that, we've successfully created the necessary license on my system. Let's quickly look at the CodeMeter runtime service. This is the service you install on the end customer's computer alongside your software. When I check it, you'll see that I now have a license, 6,010,000 and 201,000, along with some additional modules. This means that when I now run my encrypted application from the protected folder, there should be no error message. Instead, the application should just start because I now have the correct license for it. There you have it. My program isn't particularly spectacular, but there are no error messages anymore because I now have the appropriate license. And with that, let's return to the presentation. In summary, with CodeMeter, we've developed a technology that supports all the requirements in the world of licensing. This includes various license containers such as cloud, CMAC licenses, or dongle. And you can see here the different dongle form factors, all functioning the same way. We support different operating systems, including embedded systems, and of course, we provide various protection suite applications that allow you to implement both encryption and licensing. That concludes the introduction to CodeMeter. Thank you very much, and I wish you a wonderful day.